Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to What Makes You Tick. And I am very excited to introduce you to my next guest. Um, I fell in love with an art called BJJ or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a number of years ago when I was in Vegas. And I'm only thrilled to have arguably one of Ireland's best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artists, Jacqui Almeida, on the podcast. Welcome along.
I see. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for inviting me over. And what an introduction.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I
I
could
am
have gone
glad that
on.
you fall in love for BJJ too.
I've more notes. I've more notes. I trialed Brazilian Jiu Jitsu with Chris Bow in Sandyford. It's
Okay.
Chris Bow, it is, yeah. And I got to find out what it was like because I'd finished playing rugby, and then I wanted to kind of do something that was a bit like it just kind of challenged me and put me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I walked into one of the rooms on the mat, and there was all these little fellas, right? Skinny little guys and all that stuff. And they were licking their lips at me walking through, because I've no flexibility. I didn't know my arse from my elbow. And
Those
then they were
small
like,
ones that
"Oh,
you need
they're
to be way
so
like
dangerous."
afraid.
Yeah. So I've tried it a little bit, and a couple of my mates have done it, and I've just such great respect for what you guys do. Like I there's so much I want to talk about, but how did you find yourself in the world of jiu-jitsu? Because I think, having fallen in love with MMA and a big fan of it now,
Mhm.
um, when I meet a Brazilian, I automatically think that they could kill me in a second because of their jiu-jitsu, right? And I have such respect. Is it ingrained, or is it something that you fell upon?
So when I started, to be honest, my friend begged me to do his first class with him. I wasn't interested to do at all, and he's like, "Oh, Jackie, come on, coming over." So we start the gym together, and then I was like, "Okay, let's go there." I want to do Pilates. I didn't want to roll with like sweaty people around me.
Pilates sounds way better.
So then at the first one, I remember my coach from Brazil, he put me to do a choke. That was the real neck choke. That was the first thing that I have learned. And then I squeezed very strong. And then the guy's like, "Have you done anything like this before?" And then I was like, "No." He's like, "You should. You were very strong." I was like, "Okay." So because of things that I had before, so I felt something like powerful, which by like the childhood and my teenager, that I never had this power inside of me, of like such as proud of myself, really. I was like, oh my god, this is actually very nice. And all my younger that I had before, I kind of
Okay.
like put out
And what
there.
age were you when you found that power?
21.
21. Okay.
Yeah, no, I wasn't super
Okay.
young. I was young.
You were
but
super
not
young.
super young.
But young, yeah.
Yeah, but like I was not like I didn't start as a teenager.
Okay.
I did it like my mom put me swimming and stuff. Like I did ballet like very few months.
Yeah.
But no, for it was on when I was 21 years
Interesting.
old.
All right. So having done a bit of research before you came on, and looked at kind of the story of your life, it started with a fight straight away, right?
Yes.
In the womb, right?
Yeah.
But I'd love you to kind of nearly bring people on that little bit of a journey, because I do think that your story is one of resilience. It's one that is empowering for women particularly, and given that this is International Women's Week, it's fantastic that we have a really strong, powerful woman on the show. I know this will air after it, but I'd love you to just kind of maybe a little bit of a step through the initial challenges that you've had when you were in Brazil, and how you kind of overcame them.
Yeah. So when I started really, when I born,
Yeah.
like I born with like the umbilical cord like around my neck, and my mom, she had such a hard time. So when I born, I was almost dying. Like the doctor said, I'm not gonna survive. So I fought over there, I guess.
Yeah. That was your
So
first fight.
that was the first fight. I do believe still, like my father, he used to be alcoholic, so I saw the fight inside of my house against my mom, like very young age. And then I grew up. My mom, she had like my stepfather, which wasn't good with me either, and
So sorry, your dad and your mum split up, did they?
split it up. Yeah.
Okay.
So then after my mom, she had another boyfriend. So I never had that male reference in my life.
Okay.
But my mom, she is the lovest person, and my
Okay.
grandmother as well. So I believe they really saw myself as, a gift. There is no explanation for that, because I do think I get this driving of like resilience and stuff, that I always can be better because of everything that my mom trusts me to do, like everything that my mom taught me to be. So I think that's the overcoming that I had before. And yeah, so like that reflection of male in my life didn't go through with like my relationships either.
Okay. So just before we get into that, right? So just talk to me about the so I'm very, very lucky that I have a beautiful 6-month-old boy, right? And I strive to make sure that I'm the best dad I can be for him, right?
Uh-huh.
And for him to see me being as good as a husband I can, so that he gets a kind of like a basis of what good looks like, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get it right all the time, but I'm going to aim for that. How influential was it to see, first of all, your dad as an alcoholic with your mum, and how he treated her? Like, how young were you when that?
3 to 4 years old.
3 to 4 years old.
Yeah.
And that still has an impact on you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like nowadays, not as much, because I
Yeah.
guess I focused so much in self-development.
Yes.
As well, like I am a God believer, so like that healing came after a few years, but very recently, I kind of like passed from what like my childhood had an effect for me to do things that I want to do right now. And then
Okay.
I tell you a little bit more in details, like
Okay.
a dad will bring security. So that's the male perspective when you see in a family. So when you think about like a female energy, for example, like you always gonna go for the mother if you're looking for a care and love, and something happens, and then you want that like care of your mother. But then the dad will say to you, son, daughter, go.
Yeah.
Like, I am here. If anything happens, give that security. So I am always, before I was never a secure person. So that's
Okay.
why I think, because my mom trusts so much, that I could be a better person. And then I always see my mother like always, like try to bring things for me, like either money to inside of the house.
Yeah.
And like I always work so hard that I'm like, since when I was a kid, I was like, no, I need to swap this situation. Like I can't be play as a victim. I need to be better. I need to always looking for more. But I was always afraid, but I was always risk anyway. So
Okay.
I knew that was something more inside of me. I kind of like knew without knowing. I was going anyway, but I didn't like I felt, but how can I explain? Wasn't clear in my head
So
as it is right now.
Were you frustrated then because you couldn't kind of put your finger on what it was that you needed to do? Was there an element of frustration because you knew you could do more?
Yeah. And the fact is, when my mom had my stepdad, I had a lot of comparison
Okay.
with his daughters as well. That it was never gonna be enough. Like from many males, to be honest, unfortunately, I had that. Like even, like you're not gonna achieve the worlds. I have heard that. So you're not going
So somebody
to.
a male was always putting you down.
Yeah, but
Fucking shit.
even though I do feel it's because what happens in my house. So that energy was in every single room. Like I always seen that. Like I was always, even though I didn't want to, I was related to that because that's exactly what I had at home before. That was the example that I had from my dad or from my stepdad after. I never look a male as like, oh, he gives me a security. I was always afraid of the male, really, to be
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I suppose the phrase is you become the product of your environment. So if you're in that 24/7, you don't really know any different, right? So it's hard to trust a difference or somebody who may come across as nice and caring and kind that
Yeah.
doesn't feel natural, right?
No, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like when someone tries to be nice, I'm like, I need to avoid this because
Yeah.
this is not right.
Yeah.
There's something like it's going to
You question it, like.
a question, yeah, which like thank God, like God changed completely this perspective right now. And now I see, and that's what I teach women as well. And nowadays, when I look back, it's like you need to know you're worth it to be defended. You are worth it in this world. You are worth it to be cared. To
Yeah.
like even though something could happen to you, but we need to look carefully and try to change the scenario that you had before to what you can be right now.
I I'm I can't wait to get stuck into that with you a little bit, right?
Uh-huh.
Because obviously my mind is always about questions and trying to understand perspective. I don't always get it right, but I try to kind of put myself into different scenarios. So like before I do that, being a teenager, growing up in Brazil, what was it like? Like what what was your environment like?
I always have like good friends around me,
Okay.
but I got into the stage that I didn't want to stay at home, so I started like going out so much. And then eventually like party a lot and you know drinking and like going out and stay overnight. And it is tough because like I left my house, I was 19 years old.
Oh, so you're a baby.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, but I didn't want to stay in my house because I was
Yeah.
either afraid or I didn't like the environment. So I started kind of like being, I was not like the rebellion teenager or anything. I was always respect, but like I didn't want to stay in my house. So like the more outside that I was, the better. And I do feel, like when you have examples outside, you never know why what is the background of people. You
Mm.
try you literally like I think I got lost to be honest for few years because I didn't know myself. Like whatever people say to me, I was accepting. I was always easygoing person.
Do you think people knew what your internal challenge was with your home, or did you keep them at a distance?
Well, close friends, they knew it,
Okay.
but I feel you, especially now, because I do coach a little bit like in terms of posture and body language, you tell people without telling people.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know?
Because it's always not always, sorry, but there's quite often a lot you hear people who are suffering the most are the happiest on the outside. They're the ones who crack the jokes, and they're the ones who are the center of attention in the parties, because people love being around them and they gravitate to them.
Yeah.
Whereas those who are kind of quiet and tame and stuff, they could be the happiest,
Mm-hmm.
but they
Mm-hmm.
just don't have to create a facade because they're just who they are.
Yeah.
Did you find that, were you that type of person as a teenager? Were you the kind of the person who people gravitated to?
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah,
naturally,
exactly.
yeah.
I feel like more people relate to it. I was always a easygoing person because my grandmother, she was kind of like a hippie, and I grew up in the mountains.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so like I am not a city
Lovely,
girl,
lovely. Yeah,
So I like a calm and not like funny enough, I like fighting and stuff, only on the mats.
Yeah, you're like a quiet, gentle soul off the mat, but on the
Yeah,
mat, you're a
exactly.
killer.
Yeah, no, like even my therapist one time he said, "Don't ever think to leave jiu-jitsu."
Well, that's interesting. You say that because so jujitsu is probably a form of therapy for you, right?
100%. Yeah.
And um, you still have a therapist, which is
Yeah.
important as well. You know, because I grew up in a world where therapy was come home and we'll talk about it
Uh-huh.
and we'll figure it out together. That
Uh-huh.
was it. I didn't know anything, and then only a number of years ago, I found myself that I needed to use a therapist,
Yeah.
and I'm such an advocate for it now.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
wish I
No.
kind of didn't have that mindset when I was younger, but
Yeah.
it was just because I was just uneducated, right? How important is therapy for you?
Was very, very important at beginning, especially as I said that I ended up like in a relationships that wasn't the relationships that I want right now, because I didn't see my value out there. And that's the key for me. Like if I compare myself now and then before, when I look before, it wasn't like I could point like any male, but I didn't see any value with my life, any of myself. Whatever people say outside for me was like, oh, okay, that's right. Or like even I didn't really have a strong opinion. I just didn't want to like, ah, whatever, guys. Do you know, like
So
we
explain that to me a little bit. Yeah. So
so
so talk to me about the type of relationship that you were finding yourself in.
well, this guy like he's cheating so much, or like he didn't want to assume me as his girlfriend, and I was fine with that.
Oh,
To,
you
you know,
accepted it. Okay.
accepting it.
Okay.
And because I was like I was so passionate about it that I was like, oh, that's my life, that's the way it should be. Like I can't see anything
Mm-hmm.
different on that. So then one day I was talking to a girl, and she's like, I was very upset because I discovered so many things that I didn't want to discover about it. And then she said like, listen, I think this guy can help you, which my therapist. So
Amazing.
then I
How
went,
long ago was that?
wow, more than 8 years.
Oh,
Like it was
great. Okay.
2000, yeah, like it was 2014 that I started, like a
Okay.
long time ago,
Yeah, yeah.
like huge, way more than back then. So and then I started talking to him, and then he started like, and for me, everyone needs a therapist. Like, and being associate therapy and then jiu-jitsu together, that was a life change for me. Because when I started the BJJ, it was for fun, and then I was kept doing any stuff, and then I found my this therapist, and then I was talking to him and everything, and then my whole dream it was speak English, like because friend of mine went to the New Zealand, she came back, and it was just a different world. She came back like that peaceful that I enjoyed so much, because like I had few friends that like we used to go to a Japanese restaurant, and she's like, we're not gonna put any heels, and that's growing up in Brazil. Unfortunately, I don't like to say that as in general, but most of the time it's a lot of status. It's like who has more, or who, what do you have, or how you look
It's all
like.
material.
So
Yeah.
mature. So when she came back, I was like, oh, there is a world outside that it's very similar with the way I think. So then I was chat to my therapist about it. He's like, Jackie, do you want to have a family here, or do you want to go around? So I went to an agency, like tourist agency,
Okay.
and I went to an apartment. And then I was like, I definitely don't want this right now. And when I went to the agency, I was like, yeah, I want to travel the world. I really want to learn English and stuff. And then I had that guy in my life at that time. And then I will never, ever forget what my therapist did to me. Because he asked me, like, do you think he's cheating you right now? And then I was like, yeah. And then he put a mirror in front of me. He asked me the same question. And then I said, I don't know. And then he looked at me, he's like, why you lie to yourself? So that moment I was like, yes, I am lying to me. So a therapist like guide me like things that I need to work it on. Like nowadays I don't do anymore, but I found God as kind of like a person that I know, that I follow the Bible, I follow what I need to be, I see my values, I know my identity. Now I see how much worth I am, and not for the world, but like for God. Like He brought me here in this world, and now I find, if I found back then, maybe who knows, maybe I need a therapy or not. But the therapy was
Sounds like the therapy kind of unlocked your
unlocked.
faith and
Yes,
your journey in faith.
exactly.
And like I wouldn't be overly religious, but I respect anybody who is, and I'm a big believer of having hope, and I believe that um religion or spiritual guidance or whatever is very much something that people use for hope and for
Yeah.
future and for something to cling on to help them get through really challenging times and for guidance. And I think power to everybody who does whatever they need to do to help them, because who am I to say what you should or shouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
And if it helps, then absolutely double down on it. And
Yeah.
if you feel that it helps, brilliant. And the same for somebody else who finds strength in others, whether it could be Buddhism or whether it could be just, I don't know, their own mental chat,
Yeah.
whatever. I feel whatever gives you strength,
Yeah.
that you should definitely follow that.
I feel like it's like any other, I don't attach myself too much in religions. I feel religions has created, but God is on top of it.
Okay.
So my relationship with God doesn't matter which, if I am in a group of people, or if I am in a church, or if I am between me and you. Do you know? I feel I follow in the Bible, so I have the relationship with God. But I think the misunderstood in terms of it is, oh my God, I need to follow our relations. We forget that who is on the stage is a human too,
Mm-hmm.
and the rules that we have over there, it's can guide by the spirit, but that person is a human, like it could make any mistakes, right? So it's a lot of people put on them instead of find your own way to find God,
It's the way you interpret it, isn't
and
it?
then
Yeah.
have the relationship with Him. What's then you're going to understand what's the road is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do feel like nowadays I see more people related to it, especially like the way world it is right now. Like there is no hope really, and as you said, like God for me it is hope that things it can be changed. And I even post on my stories actually this morning. Uh, a couple of years ago, I said to myself that when I had this huge burnout and then I have this awakening, I said the bad things will stop on me, like it doesn't pass through me. So whatever is feel bad, if it's stressful, if I want to shout at someone or like stop a little bit and change that situation. So I think that's when it brings hope. A hope that can be changed is especially you know, sometimes as a female competitors, like you can be competitive with another girl too, but you need to understand there is a time for everything, there is a space for everything. So I'm not going to be competitive in a girl that just arrived on the mats,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So
But that's a respect as well, right?
Exactly.
And that's because you're so skilled. Like you're the person who needs to guide them, you know,
100%. And
and
since
protect them.
yeah,
Yeah.
since when I literally, even before a little bit, but after I got my black belt, was like, do you want to be inspired by someone, which you will do, or do you want to inspire someone? And then I feel like people don't like to be seen that way anymore. Like, oh, I don't want to people look at me. I don't want to see as an example. But wait a second. If you're doing good and you change the environment for peace and love and hope, why don't you want people following you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like in whatever religions that you are, it's like God is one, and he brings all the good things. And then I like to say, when people try to challenge me a little bit, like, oh, what is it? Like, wait a second, I'm still reading the Bible. I don't know any, like, much of it. I am trying to learn. But one thing that I know is, even though my life is could be chaotic, I still have find a peace and love because I have this relationship with him nowadays. And the other thing as well is like, look, if God doesn't exist, that means that I'm trying to be a better person in life, and it's working pretty well.
Exactly. And I
If it
think that
does,
that's
happy days
happy
for
days
me.
and happy days for everybody around you. You know,
Exactly.
so like that's then I think that attitude, like you're learning too, but you're trying to be the best you can be, and like that's I think that's you hats off to you for
Yeah.
doing that. I would love to. You have this. You had. Do you remember this phrase you had? A woman should only lower her head to defend a choke.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. Like genuinely, I love it.
Yeah.
Um, what made you say that?
I guess I see, because of the experience that I have of like never believing myself, always doubt myself, like lack of security. And then I do feel it's from the male, like the experience that I had before.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt I would be able to achieve things that I have achieved in my life. I was always like, okay, let's go, let's see what happens. And once we start achieving it, it was like, oh, okay, I can do that. Like, once I try to be a better person, and don't get me wrong, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna be a better person, and now I'm seeing myself as beautiful. Now I have courage. No, like, confidence comes with practicing, and you put yourself out there. You need to be like willing to failure as well. And very recently, as I just spoke to you before, since when I accept myself as an athlete, I have been understand everything that you put too much emotions, you either don't do it or you either doubt yourself. So whatever needs to be done, and whatever you say to yourself that you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't doubt yourself that you can't. I watched that documentary as well, Ronda Rousey,
Oh yeah.
because excellent, highly recommend. She said something like that I is stuck in my mind. She's like, I've seen most of like women swimming and get podium and get this X, Y, and Z, and she asked herself, why not me? Like, what's stopping us
Mm-hmm.
to be that person either? And I'm not just saying in terms of being an athlete, but perform as one athlete. Like, athletes, you need to have like discipline to eat right, to train every day, to stick with your schedule, because at the moment that you fight, you're going to remember all of those moments as well. So if you didn't do right, you're not going to perform because you know you haven't done right. And it's the same thing with life. It's like, how you going to say, oh, I am super confident if I sat on the sofa in my house and then I didn't do anything? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the evidence? What's the fact that makes me evident? Like, that makes me confident, sorry. And the fact that I did this phrase because I started coach women, and then seeing everyone accept the situation, accept that it could be a husband, or it could be like, oh, I have kids now, I don't have time for myself. And then I was like, listen, I'm not a mother, but do you really want your kids have the example outside that you don't even know the values, principles from that person, than actually inside
Mm-hmm.
of your house? So that's when it started to make me thinking a lot. And then I started learning so much in terms of body language and body posture. And it's so related to jiu-jitsu because like if you have a bad posture in jiu-jitsu, you're gonna get choke. And it's the
Yeah.
same as in life.
Yeah.
The same, like if you don't see you are worth it to be defended yourself, you are confident, you will show. And on the mats, you will show anyway. Because if you start over there, if you start jiu-jitsu today, and then like I put you in a few like situations and you fight for your life to live, I know you are a fighter.
Yeah.
But I know if you don't do anything and then you're like, oh, that's okay. I know you need to tough it up. I
Yeah.
know you still bring a lot of emotions inside like your routine. Like life is hard.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know, like let's make it easier. So that's why once I started learning, get deep in, because I did a post-graduation, like a diploma in user experience. So I was need to watching people, their posture, like what they
Body
need to
language.
look, body language, and like their reactions to try to find something that they want either on the website or in a product. So then I try to combine everything together. And as I always use jiu-jitsu as kind of like a life, like, do you know, everything that happens on the mat, that's how I
It's a
approach
reflection in
a
life.
reflection
Okay.
in life as well, in being like being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, really. Like even though when I coach now, I always say to the ladies, I was like, ladies, my job is to make you uncomfortable. That's it. I am not here because being comfortable is easy, but being comfortable is not going to bring you anywhere. Anywhere. So you either get exciting for learn and failure, or you're going to stay on the same stage and like life goes. And then if you keep accepting the life that you have, I'm sorry, but you're regretting.
Yeah. You're existing, not living, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It is challenging though because for some people they'll look at you, right, and see this super confident, kind, talented, dangerous, because like you could choke, kill us, right? But like this person, where the confidence that you exude is so infectious, right? Because it makes people, I'm going to get off my seat now and train now and stuff, you know. But you can't be like that all the time, or are you? Like, do you allow vulnerability now to come in?
100%.
Considering you were in vulnerable situations before, do you allow yourself to have those moments where, do you know what, I'm not so confident today, or it's okay that I'm not firing on all cylinders? Do you let yourself have those moments?
That's a good question, because like I do have few moments that I'm like, I am not gonna get it. Like there is no way. But then I think like that's why I risked so much, that I had such like achievements that I have done, achievements every single day. Like packing my bag to training the day before, it's a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I see the benefit of it. And then I see everything that I have been through. So nowadays it's becoming more a habit of, oh, okay, and to be honest, I don't even think when people ask me, I'm like, Jackie, can you do this? I was like, oh yeah. And then after I was like, oh shit.
Like, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So, but I guess I am very open for being authentic.
Yeah.
And do you know, there is hard times, life is tough. You're not gonna get the first one, you're not gonna get the second. Sometimes you get the first, happy days, but sometimes take like 7. Like even when for me to get the visa in Ireland, I set up myself to send 10 CVs a day. And then I was like, okay, so let me send those CVs. And the art of like literally like not giving up, but find a ways to achieve what you want. And every time that you want to change, it's uncomfortable. Like you need like change and change your environment and change who you are, it is uncomfortable. So you are doing something that you are going to make a progress of it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like my mindset nowadays, it's changed to that way.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna try anyway.
Yeah.
I think like nowadays, because I was talking to my friend about it, I think no, it is the dopamine. A lot of information that there is on the internet make you to have those quick dopamine all the time, so you're always looking for something quick. So information, how do you do that quick?
Mm-hmm.
Or how can I, set up a new recipe quick? So we used to everything quick stuff. And like what martial brings you is that long journey that you need to step by step. You only gonna get things that you want if you're willing to pay the price, and to pay the price takes time.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more I am open, even though if I lost a match and talk about it, I don't have really that heavy thing that I didn't do what needs to be done. I see every day I am trying to get better in things and accept that sometimes there is a day that I'm not gonna pack my bag. You
Yeah,
know?
I actually saw your match, your recent match, and you never gave up. And that was the one thing that you actually were true to yourself, and that you never accepted that she had your back at one point and it looked like she was going to be choking you, and then all of a sudden you got your hand in under her elbow and you got through it. And the next thing she had you in an arm bar, and it was like, holy, you're going to break her arm, but you kept fighting, you never stopped.
Yeah.
And you actually were true to your actual, what you preach, you actually do as well.
Yeah.
Which I saw that come through very much so. But if you were looking at your achievements, right, from where you've been to where you are now, what ranks at the top?
Definitely.
Or what are you most proudest of?
The Jackie I became, the Jackie that I am seeing every single achievement. Not like I always want to my values and principles come first, then my titles or medals.
So what are your values?
So my values is to be a good person, a right person with the others, have empathy with the others. Like I love people.
Can tell.
Like, and then everything that I put myself to be through is to help them. To be honest, I think that's being daughter of God. It is to share love, to share that can be different than the world it is nowadays. That you cannot put yourself in a situation. It's okay to not achieving something right now. Doesn't need to be quick. I kind of like I became very mature in my relationships too, like knowing, you know, I worked hard to be the person that I am. There is not another person that is gonna come on my way and do whatever they want with my emotions or my feelings, or point at myself and say to me that I don't deserve. Everyone comes to my life, it will be to add and to exchange, and the other people, it comes in another way. It will be, I always try to fulfill myself with all of those things, being right with daily
Yeah.
daily right with my body, knowing what I'm eating, knowing that I'm doing good for my body, because it's a gift.
Yeah.
That you all have. And how can you say you have so much gratitude if you don't do things to yourself first?
Yeah.
So like,
And sometimes you don't realize you're hurting yourself.
exactly.
You don't realize because you've built up such poor habits, and I'd be guilty of that sometimes with my nutrition and everything. Like you don't realize the damage that you're doing in the long run. So I do think though that if you are doing your best to be a good person, it doesn't mean that you're good all the time, right?
Yeah.
It means like we're human, so we make mistakes, and
Yeah.
part of it is to make a mistake to learn, right?
Yeah.
But if you were looking in the mirror now and that therapist held up that mirror to you right now, what would you say to yourself?
That I'm proud
Okay.
that woman that I became. I feel very mature now, and every time when I sign up for a new competition or someone invite me to fight, as you just said over there, on that fight, I felt like after I became a black belt, like at the beginning was like, oh, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Now, like I got the journey at the same time, I was like, oh my God, I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And at, at, when I look, I was like, at the same time, I was proud of myself that I made to a black belt, that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't give up, even though like all the moments that I had. Um, but when I look back and then I see like kind of like a different response that I would have for situations and the way that I respond right now, it's completely different. And like it was kind of like I see life as an experiment, really. So like this situation happened to me, like a guy was cheating on me, like what I was doing that wasn't right. So
Mm-hmm.
in my next relationship, I tried to not do what I was doing, and then the response was different. I was like, okay, maybe this is work.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like people, we're talking so much about being present and have the gratitude, but like at the same time you were saying to you about like, oh my God, but I look horrible,
Yeah.
or like I don't, like how, so you're not grateful, because like there is people that don't even can look at themselves, that don't,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So
I kind of say to people, and I do it myself sometimes, is when it comes to self-talk, to speak to yourself as if you're speaking to your best friend.
exactly.
So if you're able to say what you say to yourself to your best friend, that's okay,
Yeah.
fine. But if you're not, then change it.
Yeah.
And change it up to a point where you're creating encouragement as opposed to putting you down.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to kind of understand the world that you've created now for women, right? Her space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you've now, like, you openly tell a story of a lady who came to you who was going through a really, really tough time,
Mm-hmm.
and she said you saved her, right? That for me is the greatest compliment you could ever get from somebody,
Yeah.
to be told you genuinely saved them. Like, phenomenal. So I can understand how that becomes a fuel for you to do more of that. So let's talk about that a little bit and
Yeah.
just give me a sense of it, because I believe that's so powerful.
Yeah. So her space is our heart, because it's myself and my friend Lorna Lawless. She's a coach psychologist. So when we met, we had the same goal, like the same feeling of like working with ladies. And she worked with like in terms of a models, in terms of the mindset, and then I work on the physical side of it. So nowadays I understand why I experience so much, like as I said to you, like in terms of the relationship, I used to be a smoker, I used to be not having like a energy to work out and not a very good body language. And I kind of like, what are we talking about in her space is a self-awareness, and the self-awareness of your body, communication, and your mind. So that's like the pillars of her space. And what we get from there is, and we find like amazing feedback, amazing results every time when you send the form, coming back with a report full of like, oh, I learn, I understand how to fall on the floor, or I understand how it's what it's on my control, what is not. So we following a model that brings you commitment, courage, confidence, and control. So we apply that, like Lorna applied that in the mindset, and then I come with the practical straight away. So there is no exercise to do at home. There is no just write down. You're going to have a self-control when you're getting choked. So when they come to me, and before I used to be like very conscious about it, because I don't like to preach martial arts for self-defense only, because there is more of it. But one day, a mother of my friend, she said to me, she's like, Jackie, just change their mind. It's like, simple as that. I was like, yeah, that's so true. Because there is some women that only know martial arts. We know we are practicers. So we know martial arts as fun, as, we learn so much resilience, courage, and many things. But there's many ladies that don't. So why I'm not going to look at them and bring the other side of it? That's my job as a professor. So then I change my thought first, and then we start like they all coming for self-defense, especially the way the world it is right now. But the first thing that I say to them is like, ladies, that's okay if you come over with this mindset, because that's the only thing that you hear. But what do you want you to do? It's self-awareness in every single action that you do in your life. Could be waking up in the morning and instead of looking up at your phone, or extend your arms, go up. What the athletes do when they have that victory, make sure you're alive there, like, and then actually like encourage you, like the hormones. It just feels different when you just go with your arms up and like,
I'm gonna
do
do
you know
that
what?
tomorrow.
I'm good. Yeah, do.
Yeah.
And it feels the different.
Yeah.
Let me know
I'll
how
let you know,
felt.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's different. And then I started doing that, like things that I, over years and years, I feel that I have that, I don't know how it called in English, but like a sense of know what's going on around me all the time.
Okay.
Do you know, like
An awareness.
awareness.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what her space it is. If you ask me the definition about it, will be self-awareness. And when they finish the program, they like, oh, I came for self-defense, but like I learned how to walk like way more confident. Like I know I'm self-worth it. And we kind of like challenge them. Lorna challenged them in a perspective of like the mindset. And she gives few tools when you feel overwhelmed, what you can do.
Yeah.
And then myself will be how you can communicate in yourself. Because actually, in terms of the emotions, how our brain works, like 55% is body language. Then 30-80% will be the tone of your voice.
Yes.
And only 7% what you say. So no matter what you say to me, if your actions is not, like, doesn't really matter, like I'm not even take it. And then I feel that's exactly the success of the program it is, because before I say anything, I do to me. So you've
lived it, you've done it.
I live it. I have done it. So it's, it doesn't take energy from me. It's,
it's just your life.
Like it's my life.
Yeah, I love it,
My life is a challenge.
Yeah, but like it's something that you face every day, and that you're willing to take on every day, and no matter what it throws at you, you have the tools now to help you get through it.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. I also, I know we're kind of coming to time and stuff, but there's one or two things I just wanted to kind of ask you in that. I typically ask people, what advice would you give your younger self, right? So, but for you, I wanted to change it, right? Because it feels like your younger self wouldn't listen to you particularly well, right? So from what you said when you were a teenager and stuff, right? And it feels like you needed to go through those challenges and those disappointments from a male perspective, to help you to get to where you are today, right? And we always know that in the darkest times and the toughest times becomes the brightest light, right? But what advice would you give to yourself today, right? Looking ahead, that you've been through a whole ream of experience in life. What advice do you give yourself today for tomorrow and for the future?
Keep going. Like, and learn from each experience that you have been, and look at that experience carefully. Every experience that I go through, I take my time. I do this right now. I I don't have any complaints about life. I love my life. I have so much fun. There is like a lot of struggling around it that I could see, you know, any on the day didn't go well the way I planned, but I was like, okay, tomorrow I will do better. So I think like keep trying and keep analyzing every single situations that you go through. That's what I'm doing at the moment, and that's exactly what I found. It works, that kind of way. Like, and I have been learning this only this year, so
Hmm.
it's recently. So, and it's working. Like, not focusing on what really people will say about your achievements or about anything, and don't look at the end result. I know like a lot of people saying that, but you're going to see like a lot of people say that like people went to to that road. It's like, what are you having now? Okay, and my goal is X. So what are you doing right now every day to make that closer to your ending goal? Like I have so many goals that I want to achieve, but the less emotion that I get, and don't get me wrong, like I love hugging people, I love
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
but like in terms of doing it, because your brain it's always comfortable with sleep, food, and sex, all pleasures, right? Apart from it, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
If you isn't it
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you to go to sleep, oh that's fine, but
Yeah.
if you to go to doing a jog in the morning, so you need to like literally prepare the scenario to go through. And even though sometimes it's hard, so always get that thing, it's okay, what benefits will bring me if I do this today. So I usually like pack my bag, like all my food. I prep my food on Sunday, and then during the day, like I have more things to do. So I prep my whole food for the day after, my whole supplements, my clothes that I need, and my training clothes, all prep. I sometimes get home after training wrecked. I'm like, I don't want to do it. And I was like, no, Jackie, but tomorrow you're going to sleep more. You're going to. So it's
Yeah.
a self coaching all the time.
Yeah.
However, if you live on the automatic, it's like, oh, I'm doing this and not actually bring yourself attention to learn from each single situation. You are driving from Dublin to Kildare. What do you learn from that? Did you look at the sky? What the color the sky was? So instead of like being overwhelmed,
Yeah.
it's
Take
not
take in what your surroundings and kind of appreciate it. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
then what do you learn? And since when I have been doing that, I my life changed so much. It's not like what's tomorrow will be tomorrow, but today I know I I train myself as I'm going to fight tomorrow. I don't need
Okay.
to like now waiting for the next competition to prepare my food every day or to no, I am living as I am already victorious anyway every day.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So you've got this billboard, right? So in the billboards, you've got when you drive past it, you've like 3 seconds, right? You've 3 seconds to get the message, right? Now it's your last day on this world, and you need to
Hmm.
leave a message behind to everybody. What's that message?
Um Definitely put God as your center, because since when I find have this awakening and saw God as a friend, not as a religion,
Mm.
um, I always come back to Him, and everything else became very good. Like I'm not worrying about anything else because I love learning. I love like like but it's funny because the Bible always bring back to any books, self-development books, you read the Bible, it tells you the same, and even in more details. And
Yeah.
once you're I bring myself into that, like I know I am doing good as a person, I am doing good for myself, and it's just overflowed. I don't like get to you like see you need to like me because I am X, Y, and Z. I'm like I'm doing me,
Yeah.
and
I,
whatever comes around me it will be just reflection of my essence,
yeah.
and my essence is God. So like I always that's if my 3 seconds will be find your essence back. God is not a person that it's far away to achieve. You just literally like what I like to do. It's always like, God, I'm giving my training to you. I hope I have the best training, or even coaching. I give the life of these girls, and then after that, I'm like, thank you so much. I hope I have been. I said something that will change their life or change their perspective or for good. I put like literally my ego on the side for those, and like that's who I am. I have been this. Sometimes I get stressful, it's stress, and then I'm like, wait a second, why I'm stressed? So then when I start to worry outside, so I'm like, okay, bring back to your sense. You left in God's hand, and whatever it needs to be, it will be once you're doing good for the things that you said that you're going to do.
I like that you bring it back and take a breath, come back to the center, and just know that your intent is positive and it's good.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens after that and how people interpret it, that's on them.
Yeah.
But as long as your intent is positive.
And it's like something that it's not that because I am this right now, it's not going to happen. That I'm like, the other day, the financial card, I was like, stressed me out. And then I was like, coming back, like, know where you belong.
Yeah.
It's the main thing.
Yeah.
Like, could be like you could live in a place chaotic, and then you were like, I don't belong there.
Yeah.
Or
choose to get out of it.
Yeah. It's even though with food, like now this week, I'm kind of like chilling a little bit because it feels that I have been camping so much.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm chill. But it's not because I'm chill that I'm had like bad stuff. Like, oh, I had a burger and I'm fine with it. Like, but I don't belong to that place.
Yeah.
I don't belong of like eating things to draw my energy low, and actually trying to understand what you're doing with your life, what you put inside of you, what you surround, analyze everything. You need to actually be a self-awareness person. That's changed a lot.
So if people wanted to get in touch with you, Jacqui, how could they reach out to you? Use this as a way to promote yourself and your business.
Yeah, so they can reach out at me on my Instagram. Will be easy. It's ja.jacquealmeida. My email will be ja@jacquelinealmeida.com. You can put it.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. So nowadays we work a lot of, especially her space, we work a lot of with companies, with community centers as well. If any companies would you like to bring a little bit of our model to show their employees, because literally what we coach is soft skills. That's what companies looking for. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the more I get people into the gyms, and I'm happy. Like, once, I always say, like, martial arts, like, it's not for you to be a fighter and competitor. It's for you to discover more about yourself and learn how.
And it's an art. It's an art. It takes time.
It's an art. And like, you're going to learn how to fall on the floor. Do you know how to fall on the floor without hit your head? Do you know what I mean? Like, things, simple stuff. And then the more I can bring this, and more I can bring my athlete side of it to companies of like, like, I always look into some perspective in a better way. I will. And that's what it is. That's what I work at the moment, and growing as a women coach. And then I wanted to be recognized as one of like the best coach for women.
Oh, I've no doubt. I've no doubt. Honestly, like, I was delighted that Brian and my cousin Sarah mentioned you to me, and so it gave me a chance to learn about you and to know that you're a role model for my goddaughter and her little sister, Lucy and Ellen. It's really, really brilliant to see that they're in an environment with somebody like you to look up to. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy. Actually, it's my first podcast in English.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Exclusive, baby.
Now let's learn how to choke.
Jacqui Almeida, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, T.